Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what the lab portion is all about. What I showed you in lab learning modules of Blackboard. Okay, we're on this syllabus is on page 21, so it's around that area, and you'll see lab reports there. All right, so you're going to have the lab guide manual where I showed you where that is. It's about 100 pages, give or take 10 pages or so. This is your lab manual. Okay, along with your lab reports in Blackboard, you'll see that there. Remember, you have to do that lab safety contract. It is required. Do this by day 2. You cannot do any of the lab material that's in your kit without me having this lab safety contract. Okay, it is required. If you do the lab kit, if you use the lab kit and submit something to me and I don't have your lab safety contract, it's a 0 automatically. Okay, so I need you to do that. I showed you where that is, and then just send it to me. Okay, there are 8 lab reports for you to do. Some people call them lab assignments. One lab report is broken down into 2 sections, an F5A and 5B, but there's going to be a total of 8 there. Okay, the lab reports points of each one, it'll vary anywhere from 20 to 50 points. Okay, depends on how involved it is. It is going to be worth 5% of your total course grade. I know it sounds very low, but it's going to get you prepared for the lab practical exams. So I need you to still do them. The lab practical exams are worth a lot more than this. So keep that in mind. The lab reports may involve answering questions that I give you, answering questions from Mastering A&P, partaking in interactivities from Physio X portion of Mastering A&P. You might have to draw things, label things like for histology, and taking and labeling photos of dissections. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Everything must be submitted in the form of PDF. I don't accept anything else. And the reason is because what you see at your end, whether you use an Apple or Windows computer, what happens is that sometimes you put a picture or you put some wording and you see the whole thing. But when it comes over to me or goes to someone else, you have half the picture on one page and half the picture on the other because it's not compatible totally with someone else's computer. However, if you convert it to PDF, what you see in PDF format is going to be exactly the same that the other person is going to see. So I want it needs to be in PDF format. If it's not in PDF, I'm not accepting it. You'll get a 0. Okay, so it has to be in PDF. And you could do all that in PDF. It'll, if you want to save it as PDF. You'll see it. They're going to be due on selected days, always at 8 p.m. Okay, these are, by the way, all these times are Eastern Standard Time. So if you go and visit your grandmother in California, we're going by Eastern Standard Time. You may submit these as many times as you want. Okay, you might send it like on day 2 when you have 5 days for it, and you forgot to put something on there, so you could do a third submission, 4th submission. What I'm going to grade is the last submission that's closest to the 8 p.m. due time. So do it as many times as you want. I'm just going to do the last submission before 8 p.m. of the due date happens. Okay. And if I don't receive it at 8 p.m. and I don't receive anything from you, there is no partial credit or any credit for late submissions. It's just an absolute 0. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the dissections. All right, so we have the sheep heart and fetal pig on dissections. Again, especially the fetal pig, do not, I repeat, do not throw out the fetal pig after 1 dissection. The fetal pig is going to be used so many other times, so you got to wrap it up, put it into a Ziploc bag for a future time. Okay, even after you take the practical exam, we are going to use the fetal pig in the first exam and the second exam. So don't throw them out until I tell you to. You'll have this so-called laundry list of structures for you to identify. That'll be in the lab learning modules, you're going to have to do photos. Use your smartphone or tablet or whatever. You're going to have to take photos. One picture is required to take of your face, photo ID, and you next to the dissected specimen. So I need to have that with you. You got to do that. All right. That's one picture of all those three things. All the other photos must include a small piece of paper, maybe the size of like a Post-it note, that kind of thing, with your full name and the date on the paper. If you've taken this course before, I need to see the date of this. That means you have to, if you've already dissected the fetal pig and a sheep heart, you can't use those same pictures from before. I need you to do the whole thing, the whole course over again. Okay, so make sure you have that in every picture. I'll remind you as we get closer to each one of these things. Make sure in a well-lit area, use a flash when needed. Also be mindful of a shadow that you're casting over the dissection. Okay, labels must be clear and not blocking what you're trying to show me. I'll be sending you some pictures of poor submissions and great submissions so that you get an idea. Let me get closer. If you want to use a labeling app, hey, you know, again, we're in the 2020s. If you find one that is very usable for you and you want to use it, that's fine. I have no problems with that. Just make sure everything is legible. Again, you need to submit it as one document. So if you have, let's say, 10 pictures, you are going to put it one picture per page or whatever, and you're going to convert it into a PDF. It is mandatory for you to do that, okay? So organize it the way you want, put it in a Word document, and then save it as a PDF, okay? All right. Okay. All right, attach them all. So any other document will get a 0, attach all the files to one attachment. I don't want to be looking at, let's say, 10 different attachments over here. All right. All right, so let's talk about mastering A&P. What's that all about? Well, I put masteringAMP.com there. Why? In case you want to learn something about it, but you are not going to go to Mastering A&P to build your account. All right. Many lab exercises and lab reports are required to use this. So you need it. It'll be in the lab guide manual and in my emails. Okay. Register for this on day number 1. You obviously can't have access to it until day number 1. Okay. Instructions are also found in the syllabus folder of Blackboard. I showed you where that is. You're going to open up the Mastering A&P within the Blackboard course, which is where I showed you. Select any of the icons. Select the study area, okay, in a new window. And that's where you're going to create an account if you haven't had one before. If you had an account, then use your username and password. You'll be able to do that. If you have any time left on the access code, you'll get that. But if you don't, you could use the same username and password, but you're going to need to purchase a new one. And at that point, you'll be able to do that, okay? So that's where you're going to be able to get your access code if you don't have one already. Again, if it is going to expire during the middle of the semester, you're going to need to repurchase one anyway, okay? You will not be required to get a course ID, so don't even ask for one. If you're asking for one, I know you're going to this website. That's the only time they'll be asking for it, okay? You have to go through Blackboard to sign up. That's crucial for you to do because I've integrated it with Blackboard, okay? And then you go to my course and you'll be able to get in there. The study area has a lot of stuff in there. The e-text, that'll be not in the study area, it'll be above it. I showed you where that was. But all the this practice anatomy lab, the anatomical portion will be in the so-called PAL. You'll see the diagrams, models, histology. You'll even have practice lab exams on there, practice practicals, so to say. The Physio X is the physiology portion of this. You'll also see some interactive physiology. I find that extremely good if you have some time for the supplemental. I love that so much. I could just watch it. It's if you look at it, and I think in AMP2 you could use it a lot more. You're confused on fluids and electrolytes. You click on something, it narrates things for you. I would say look at that and see what it has to offer so that you have it in the back burner. If you really are confused about a physiology thing, let's see what interactive physiology has. Maybe I could learn from that much easier than the book does. Okay, so definitely look into that. All right, so sorry, this is all labeling fast like this. All right, so we also have something called a capstone experience. Okay, sorry, it's showing up all in here. I would have done it individually. So we have a capstone experience. The purpose of this capstone experience, capstone is really being able to, can you integrate everything that is learned in a course and apply it to a real world situation? That's what a capstone is. It's not just anatomy and physiology. It could be history. It could be your history course. It could be your economics course. It could be anything, but we're going to use it for anatomy and physiology. This will happen at the last week of the course, and it'll be a case study. And the purpose of it is see if you can critically think. Instead of learning separate topics, can you start connecting the dots with everything? Now that you've finished AMP1 and AMP2, but it'll be mostly about AMP2, can you connect the dots and understand and be able to apply the knowledge to this case study? It actually will show mastery of the deeper meaning of the material. It'll help prepare you for challenges with your future medical careers. And it also sees if you're, the self-discovery of yourself in terms of like, wow, I'm really surprised myself. I didn't think I could do that, and also the ability to see if you can work independently. Okay. So this is important for you to do. You'll have a case study to read. There'll be a number of questions for you to answer from the knowledge that you got from anatomy and physiology and pertain it to this case study. Will you be able to do that? Okay. I think you can with the way I teach you throughout the course. But yeah, I want you to do that. It'll be at the end of the semester. Okay. Sorry, it's doing the same thing like this again. Oop, okay. So again, it's going to occur during the last week of the semester. I highly encourage you to complete it. There is no grade per se for it, but you're able to submit it multiple times. I'm going to ask you to that it be submitted on a certain day. I usually give you anywhere from 3 to 5 days to do it by 8 o'clock on that certain day. What I'm going to do, there is no required points for you to go in there, but I'll be using it like a bonus quiz or something like the way we do the bonus quiz. If you claim all the points on the question correct, then I'm going to, for your lab exams, the bonus quiz was for your lecture exams going up 2 percentage points. But this will allow you to have your lab exams go up by 2 percentage points. Okay. If you get half of them correct, then it goes up 1 percentage point. Okay. Unfortunately, like the bonus quiz, we cap it off at 100. You can't get 101%, but we cap it off at 100. So doing this won't hurt your grade in any way. It can only help it. Okay. So that'll encourage you. I'm going to have you do it even after the practical exam. You could submit it before the practical exam. Most students would do it afterwards. But treat it as though it's a bonus thing, but treat it as though to test yourself, to challenge yourself. Can I really take a case study? Someone comes into the emergency room with this. Am I able to apply what I learned in AMP1 to try and assess this patient, to diagnose this patient? What is happening inside their body? Maybe even be able to treat them. Okay, so that's what I want you to do with this. Okay, so let's talk about the discussion boards. Okay, discussion boards is on it's a lot, but I'm going to speed it up a little bit. You're going to see it. It's usually about 4 to 5 pages. So this particular syllabus, it's pages 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. So it's around that area. Okay, you'll see right on the top, it'll say discussion boards. Okay, and there's a few tables in there too, a couple of tables. So we need to do some kind of interaction if we're going to be taking an interaction with classmates and myself if we're going to do an online course. I don't want you to feel as though you're doing this all by yourself. Believe me, with all my emails and my voice already, and you could see it with my video lectures, you will actually feel as though I'm present. But I also want you to feel present as though it's a real class with your other classmates. That's the purpose of doing these discussion boards. There's going to be 2 parts for each discussion board. A primary post where you're going to create a message for others to read, and then a secondary post where you're either going to respond to a primary post or someone else's secondary post. So what you've got here is one post, like a primary post, and then you got a secondary post that's going to intertwine with each other. And this is what we say that the discussion is being threaded. And that's where I think that one thread leads to, one comment leads to another. You got this threading going on. And that's where I think that this was coined the phrase, this is a thread. So that's where I think that came in. Okay, so each student must post at least one of each of these for each discussion board. So we have 4 discussion boards in total. The instructions to open and submit the discussion boards, I'm going to abbreviate discussion boards as DB. So they're in the syllabus. I'm really not going to go into details about it. You'll see it there. They'll also be found in the discussion boards themselves when you look in the assessments, okay, of Blackboard. So all primary and secondary posts are due 8 p.m. on selected dates, okay? No partial credit is, no partial credit for posts that submitted late. There's no exceptions to that, okay? Now, discussion board number 1 is really different than the other 3. The other 3 are pretty similar, but discussion board number 1 is more of an introduction about yourself. You're just introducing yourself, and there is criteria I want you to do. You'll see it in the syllabus, and you also see it in the discussion board itself, and you'll see the criteria. It's things like, what's your name, a picture of yourself. You need to create an avatar. There's instructions on how to do that. What is your long-term career goals? Did you get why are you taking this course? Have you taken an online course? What are your hobbies? That kind of stuff. It's very easy to do, but make sure you have those criteria in there. I'm going to give you 6 points for the primary post and 4 points for the secondary post. The secondary post, you're going to comment on there. And I don't want something that's going to be very cheaply done, like, sounds interesting, I like it to hike also, and just do that. Make it a little bit more meat, all right? You want to be able to speak to, you're not going to just say that if you saw that, you saw your classmate in person. You're not going to be very brief with them like that. Put some meat into it, show that there's some interaction going on there, okay? Now, discussion boards number 2, 3, and 4, okay? They're all similar, and there's a lot more work into these, okay? So each of these pertains to lecture exam number 1, 2, and 3, okay? Click on, trying to get to the next, there we go. So there's required criteria that's found again in the discussion board itself and in the syllabus, all right? Each of these discussion boards are worth 2% each. That first one I showed you is worth 1%. So these discussion boards here is a total of 6, all right? The primary post of each one of these has to include a shared weakness. What is the weakness in a particular, in a very distinct portion of what the lecture exam is? Also, give me a strength. Okay, describe the topic for each and why is it a weakness and strength. Put some meat into that. Okay, you're also going to need to create a multiple choice question. This is harder than what you think. and it has to have 5 choices for that. The secondary post is going to address your classmate's weakness, and you're going to pretty much kind of tutor him or her, okay? Try not to confuse them. And I've done these many times. Please, please pick a weakness that you're strong in. I've seen so many people put the weakness, yeah, that's a weakness for me also, and I can't figure out what to do. That's not helping them. That's just making them more down, right? So if their weakness is something like mitosis, and you know mitosis really well, then show them, come up with a mnemonic, show them how you were able to master that. You're going to tutor them. So make it something like here's a video that helped me, and this is a mnemonic. I use this. Think of it like this as a metaphor. Be there to tutor them, all right? But don't pick a subject that is a weakness for you also. I see that way too much. I don't understand that, but yeah, all right? So again, you want to add some helpful hints to the study. And you're going to answer one of your classmates' questions, as I just explained, that hasn't been answered yet. And you're going to tutor them by using, look at this slide on this PowerPoint, this page of this textbook, and so forth. Explain, and when you're going to also answer one of the questions that your classmate has that she or he created. When you do this, you need to, as I explained to you before, when doing the review questions, explain why A is correct, but also explain why B, C, D, and E are incorrect. Okay, this is good test-taking strategies. I want you to build these practices with you. It'll make you a better student. Good examples. I put 2 good examples in the syllabus. Read it so you see what I mean by meaty. Okay. There's also a rubric grading method because it sounds very subjective, but if you actually see in those pages that I just told you about with the discussion boards, there's a full page of what the rubric that I'm going to be looking for, how I'm going to be grading it. So you'll see that on there. Do make sure you use proper netiquette. Netiquette is a hybrid word between internet and etiquette. So just be sure and be mindful that you're not offending someone. Something like using all capital letters is like yelling at them, right? So it's that kind of stuff. So I put some things in there. That's on page 28 or around 28. You'll see that on there, my suggestions, okay? Try not to use rude tones with them. I haven't had an issue with students with this, but just be mindful of that. I do want to make sure you understand if it does happen. I want you to understand. Let me just read this to you. I'm going to step out of character, but I haven't had to do this, but I want everybody to be on the same page with this. Students that do not respect fellow classmates will be removed from the course, will fail the course, and will be reported to the chairperson, dean, etc., as this violates the academic conduct code. So I know it sounds really strict, and it is, but just do what you're supposed to. And if you have to, I'll be honest with you, even when I send emails, if you have to think, is this offending someone? Just thinking about it must mean that it might be offending someone. So just be careful with all this. All right. All right. And also spelling, proper grammar, content, that'll also be graded too. You'll see that in the rubric. All right, so on page 29, around there, you're going to see how it's all broken down. I'm not going to spend time talking about this, but we have 3 major lecture exams. There's the material. You'll see that all color-coded, what it's all about, but it'll also be on your course calendar, the last page or 2, where that checklist is. You'll see what each one is going to cover. So you're going to have 3 lecture exams that have those. You will have the final exam that's going to be lecture that the department's doing. That's covering everything. And then there's going to be 2 practical exams, okay? And that's what it's covering. All of these will be proctored. These are the exams, the 6 exams that will be proctored for this course using smarter proctoring. There are 2 practice ones. The syllabus quiz will not be proctored per se, but you have to use smarter proctoring to get familiar with that, to sign up for it. And then the practice one, you can take as many times as you want, but I want you to also get familiar with smarter proctoring throughout the whole course if you get rusty on that, or if you're not too sure. Okay. The lecture and lab grade components, 75% will be lecture, 25% will go towards lab. But you do have to keep in mind that you have to get at least the 60% or better in each portion. So if I'm doing this, I don't even know if this calculation is correct, but you'll get the picture. If your lab grade is 58 and your lecture grade is 86, and that puts you at 72%, you still fail the course because your lab portion is under 60% at 58. So that's what I'm saying. You have to have both portions above 60% in order to be eligible to pass the course. Okay. This is the grade equivalence. It's also noted in the first 8 or 9 pages of the departmental syllabus. All right, pretty straightforward. And this is how the course summary is. Again, this is on page 30 or around there. You'll see a blue box with all this information on there. So what you're looking at over here is the syllabus quiz. Everything above the green line is lecture material. Everything below the green line is lab material. Okay. And don't worry so much about the points. That's for me, raw score. But this is what you want to see, how much it's actually weighted. The portions of the lecture portion with all of this and the lab portion with all of this, you could see that the lab assignments or the lab reports are 5%, but the lab practical exams are worth 10% each. Sure, this is very low, but this is surely going to prepare you for each one of these. So it's important that you do this correctly so that you could get this higher stuff more correct, right? Keep in mind, for the lecture, I do have a bonus quiz that can raise each one of your 3 lecture exams up by 2 percentage points. No exam grade can exceed 100. And also the capstone experience can raise each of your 2 lab exams by 2 percentage points. No exam grade can exceed 100. All right, so keep in mind the lecture portion over here, this all adds up to 75%. This adds up to 25%, giving you 100%. Okay, so that's where that comes in. Blackboard, not going to bore you with this. I spent so much time talking about it, but all this material is on there. Discussion boards, everything is on there. Okay, the review questions, I just want to just highlight certain things on here that we talked about. Make sure you do these. There is no answer key. The answers are my PowerPoints and video lectures. Do them at your own pace, and then meet up with 1 or 2 classmates and just go over the answers. Okay, shouldn't be more than like an hour to do that. There's many benefits. This acts as your study guide. As you do them, if you just print it on one page, on one side, your other side, if you keep it in like a notebook, your other side, you can put all your notes, or your margins, you can put all your notes. And then what you want to do is, when you study you do these for your lecture quizzes, and then you reprint them out for your lab exam, or your lecture exam. And then you have the answer keys because you just did them for the lecture quizzes. And then for the final exam, you probably just want to reprint them all out and do them over and over and over. Okay. So when you go back to see what your answers are, if they're correct, you also have your notes on there that you needed to put in as you did it the first time. Okay. It's also a good representation of my own exam questions, so you're going to see them on there. And as I mentioned to you before, 20 to 25% of my exams will have these questions on it. So it's so important in so many ways for you to do these, okay? Class cancellations, it's really not much for me. It's online, but if you're first time at CCM, if you're taking some live classes, my suggestion is to put yourself on this rave. I think when you go to your account on CCM, you hook yourself here and you could put in your phone number or email address, and whenever there's a cancellation for the school, you'll be able to everyone, like a snow day or whatever, then everyone that's hooked up to rave will get that message as an umbrella and at one time, and that's what'll happen. Okay, so not so much for me because it's online. Okay, academic integrity, just don't cheat. Okay, I know there's times when you're tempted and being online, just don't. If there's a question about what you're doing, where you're looking, if you didn't do a webcam pan, like your pan, if you didn't do that 360 degrees to show your area, and then you're looking at an area that I didn't see, I have to take that as cheating. Just do what you're supposed to. Make sure you read the instructions before you take the exam. I also send an email to you a couple days before the exam. Do them, okay? Don't cheat, okay? I've had a few people cheat. It is not worth it. We take this all the way to the dean of students, and it's not a good thing, okay? So just don't. Just do what you're supposed to. That's it, okay? And then note the important dates. Believe it or not, that's the last page, finally, right? The last page. You'll see the important dates. When is the last day to withdraw, really to drop the course so it doesn't even show up on your transcript? That's usually after about a week or so from day one. And then the last day to withdraw and get a W. It does show up on your transcript, but it won't affect your GPA. So that's, note what those dates are on the last page. And remember, live like you're going to die tomorrow. I understand that, but learn like you're going to live forever. That's my teaching philosophy, okay? Is just, you don't know if you're going to use this later on, all right? All right, so let me switch over to me. Stop share. Hey, long time no see, just my voice, right? So we're all back here. Again, I just wanted to show you, make sure you print out the course calendar. You saw where that is. The last 2 pages, as you can see here, a wonderful checklist. Okay, wonderful checklist that I think that you'll be using quite a bit. Also, with all the calendar itself, it's going to be very helpful. You'll see where all the due dates are. So definitely do that. I just wanted to, again, welcome everybody to A&P. Some of you I've had before. I know that. So you, thank you for joining I guess the Gamaro fan club, if you want to call it that. But yeah, you're going to learn a lot over here. Like I said, learn like you're going to live forever. You are going to use this stuff. You'll be so surprised. When students ask me, what's going to be on the test? Don't worry about that. Be concerned about how you're going to use this material for your future. And then I promise you, the test will fall into place, okay? Remember, this is not like sociology where 50% of this material is common sense. Whether you use sociology in your career or not, I don't know. But I could guarantee you, A&P is a foundation that each and every one of you, whether you're going to nursing, doctor, dental hygienist, radiology, respiratory therapy, wherever, A&P is your foundation. When you get into these higher schools, they expect you to know this material. They're not going to have time to review it, okay? So from the 3 of us to you, welcome. And you're going to have fun. We're going to have fun with this course, and you're going to learn a whole lot. All right. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.